Senator Sanders, I do want to put the same question to you, Senator Sanders. What message do you think?
To that question, but I wanted to get back to the issue of climate change for a moment, because I do believe this is the existential issue.
Senator, with all respect, this question is about race. Can you answer the question as it was asked?
I certainly can. Because people of color, in fact, are going to be the people suffering most if we do not deal with climate change. And by the way, we have an obligation up here, if there are not any of our African-American brothers and sisters up here, to speak about an economy in which African-Americans are exploited, where Black women die 3 times at higher rates than white women, where we have a criminal justice system which is racist and broken, disproportionately made up of African-Americans and Latinos and Native Americans who are in jail. So we need an economy that focuses on the needs of oppressed, exploited people, and that is the African-American community.
So look, I guess watching it for a second time, I can kind of see why the moderator would think that he's just pivoting to a different topic altogether. But I just wish you would have given him an opportunity to finish his answer, right? So if he had answered and he didn't say anything about race because that topic was about race, then that's one thing. That's when you can go ahead and tell him, hey, can you answer the actual question that I just asked you? But he wanted to draw this connection to climate change and how certain communities are going to be affected by it worse than other communities. I mean, you think that the immigration problem, or I don't even consider a real problem, but the immigration crisis because of crime in Central American countries is bad now? Imagine how things are going to be when you have climate refugees. That's going to be a real problem.
So that was Amna Nawaz, and she's great. She's actually guest hosted on the Young Turks, but that was unfortunate. And so what I was most worried about is once she did that, even though Bernie's answer was about race, that the media would just stop the tape right there and not give you the rest of the context and pretend
they will
and pretend that Bernie was actually never going to talk about race. I know the media taking people out of context is a new idea, but so I just went to CNN as Anna was introing the story, and here's a headline. Sanders pivots off race, moderator stops him in his tracks.
Yeah. Of course.
Oh, come on, you are so predictable in your bias. By the way, above that is this headline on winners and losers in the debate. Klobuchar got to talk way more. Biden renewed his confidence, and Sanders seemed to have only one answer.
Which answer was that?
Okay.
He kept going on and on about the fundamental issue that affects all others. It was really annoying, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so predictable. Number one, they're gonna play that a million times. Number two, it's never gonna extend to his actual answer, which is really unfortunate. And like I get that a lot of the times I'll ask a question and people will be like, well, I didn't get to talk about the last thing, so they'll sort of interrupt. So you shouldn't react like it's so weird. They do all do it. And look, I'm not that familiar with her. Maybe it was just the sort of response you'd get, but the way she said it, to me, it had some spin on it. It was like I'm making a point here that that's what it felt like.
No, I agree with that. But to Anna's point, if he had never answered about race and you do a clapback like that, I actually think that's good as a moderator because we want the moderators to be more aggressive. It's just that she shouldn't have interrupted in the beginning of the answer because then you didn't know where he was going with it.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if she regrets that or not, but that's not the major problem. The major problem is the media that is so biased that they would see the rest of Bernie Sanders' answer and go, I don't care. I don't care about the rest of his answer.
But my point really is, it's not like he pivoted to talk about like car washes or something. He pivoted to talk about climate change, literally the biggest threat facing our country. Right. But all the ones that say he pivots from race, will they say to climate change, to the existential threat facing our civilization?
But it's actually
they won't say that.
It's actually worse than that because he pivoted to talk about how climate change affects race.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so I want to read a tweet. The handle is Theodore W. Adorable, but the point is so good that I had to share it with you. Sanders gets interrupted while trying to make a point about the connection between racial plus environmental justice. So So the moderator could score a pandering cheap shot. Not sure I agree with that part, but here's the part that really matters. Biden's allowed to dismiss a direct question about reparations to recite tired talking points with no comment.
Yeah.
So there was, I mean, look, it happened. That's one example, but I noticed that it happened throughout the night where the candidate didn't want to answer the actual question. They pivot to something completely different. There was no interruption in the middle of their nonsense answer.
And there was no pointing out of it after the answer was over.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes, no, look, the fact that the media has written 1,000 negative articles about Bernie Sanders, probably literally more, and like maybe 2 positive ones. I'm exaggerating, but not by much. You have eyes, you can see all the papers, you can see all the media outlets, and yet they claim, and maybe it's true, that they can't see the bias. They say, no, I don't know. We give Bernie the same coverage that we give everyone else. That's beyond preposterous. It would be so much more honest if they just said, yeah, I mean, we have a perspective and our perspective is more moderate and we love bipartisan compromise. Chris Cillizza is honest in that sense. He thought, but when Joe Biden said he was going to work with Republicans, that was his best answer. In fact, almost all the mainstream media, not almost all of it, but a lot on Twitter were about like, oh, Joe nailed it, work with Republicans, way to go, right? And then by the way, they never even point out the irony that Joe Biden's main campaign theme is, I will be better at beating the Republican named Donald Trump.
Right.
Okay, that irony is never noted, is never interrupted, etc.
The Republicans are like shivving him right now, okay? Donald Trump tried to get a foreign country to announce an investigation into Biden to ruin his chances of getting elected. Like, and he's like, I'm gonna reach across the aisle and I'm gonna work with these people who are shivving me right now.
Those Senate
And by
Republicans
the
are
way,
trying to get him to be a witness in the Senate trial right now.
No, I know, and that's what the mainstream media is celebrating. They're like, despite the fact that they let him out, he still wants to work with them. No, that's the whole point. They're bad actors.
I can't
He has the
stand it.
wrong idea, which is that you could reach out across their knife. No, it will go through your hand and then stab you. It is the wrong idea on how to actually get legislation passed. If you care to be progressive, if you care to go towards Republicans, then Biden has the right idea. I'll just give you whatever you want. But look, I think that's the media's bias against it, but I think the people are gonna see through it, and they're beginning to see through it now. Sanders is surging in all the polls.
Media is just other people in America, and we've been told how many times that Democrats always have to be one to apologize, have to be the ones that want to conform to conservatives, Republicans throughout the country. And we never get the questions to Republicans and conservatives, hey, when are you gonna start changing your policy to appease all of these libs? Hey, 2018 was our mandate. When are we gonna start hearing that where people have to say, hey, we might wanna start shaping your policy to start trying to pull over some Democrats to your side? It's never asked. It's just, we are the party that's gonna, from a Republican's point of view, we're the party that's the principled ones. We're the ones that's fighting for family and fiscal responsibility. They'll say it a million times, even though the facts never actually back them up. But so Democrats are now this kidnapped a party that thinks I have to appeal to these people who hate me. No matter how much they hate me, no matter how much they say they'll never work with me, no matter how much they say once we get into power, we're gonna try to eliminate you. And every one of these, oh, I have the mandate of the country, and they say, how about all the rest of those tens of millions of people that voted against you? They'll go, those are the fringe groups. Those people in the coastal elites, hey, they're Americans.
Yeah.
But everyone buys into it, even the media, even these figures are doing that. One real quick thing on diversity within the debates. They asked this question and the answers are always so well rehearsed. And like, okay, they're gonna say something about race and how we don't have Kamala here anymore and Corey's not here anymore. I have to give some stats about how much black folks die. I have to give stats about how they're done wrong. I have to give stats about housing and all these things so black folks can maybe at home will sit and say, they get me. No, there's a personalized connection to, it's why it's actually important for those folks to be there. It turned into this moderator trying to tell Bernie Sanders, hey, you didn't answer about race. You didn't give us your normal answer about race. She didn't know he's gonna get to something that actually has some meat to it. And when she didn't see him start listing all the problems that black folks are put into place, which are all true, by the way. There's nothing like inaccurate about that, but it's just, it's thrown out there to go, let me just throw this out there and maybe we'll get past this black question now. It happened early in debates when we were talking about reparations and look how uncomfortable everyone on that stage is. They go, so black folks have been disenfranchised, have been murdered, have been massacred throughout history in our country. What do you plan to do about it? Well, we just need everyone to love one another better. First thing you have to do is tell Donald Trump to stop being such a hater. This is nothing. This is nothing, which is why when candidates who've actually lived the experience get up there and start talking about their lived experience, as much as people were upset about Kamala Harris, she did that, and people went, man, I can see this picture that she's painted. And she didn't talk about dining room tables and rolling up sleeves and whatever other political lines we like to go with. And it's none of these folks' fault. They haven't lived the experience.
Yeah, you make such a good point, because one of the strongest moments of all the debates was when Kamala Harris called Joe Biden out on the busing issue. And it was important to have that voice on that stage. And so while it's frustrating to see so many people up on the stage at the same time, I would much rather have her input in these debates as opposed to some of the other people, including Klobuchar, Steyer, you get the picture. Because she does have that lived experience that people should hear about.
And they'll talk about who she's married to and all that stuff. And then, so I mean, you'll get different, everyone has a different experience, but at least they have a reason and a actual person connect to it. I mean, if Nina Turner was talking about to folks about it, then we get the real story.
Yeah.
But I mean, ask everyone at home how much they've listened to what Nina Turner has to say longer than 5 to 10 seconds, and you will get a small number.
Yeah. Unless they watch the Young Turks.
And that's the black experience in America, you know?
Yeah. Nina Turner for VP. Okay, one last thing about that. Anna and I covered a story today about how they're going to put a new plant that's going to double the number of toxic pollution in the air in a parish in Louisiana. You're going to be shocked to find out which area they're putting it in. Of course, an African-American neighborhood.
Yep.
Okay, every time. So that's what Jared's talking about when you see the real experience of African-American folks. You can cite the stats and they're great and they're wonderful and you should, okay? But also you need to talk about other things like, for example, how the environmental issues affect African-American communities. Van Jones is great about talking about that, but that's exactly what Bernie was getting to. And okay, you put that toxic plant in the middle of Beverly Hills, then we'll have a conversation. Yeah. Never happens. Always put into African-American neighborhoods, and then African-American neighborhoods have more cancer, more health problems, and then it's harder to rise up out of that poverty when you're living under those circumstances, and then they get blamed for the poverty, right? So those are real answers. It's hard to get to in a debate. Yeah. That's what Bernie was trying to do when he was interrupted. Now the entire media says, Bernie doesn't care about race, and that's what's wrong with media. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.